a Tehran production team loss, promoting soccer or football, whatever, and streaming's new reality. This is TV Plus Talk on MacVoices. Welcome to TV Plus Talk. This is where we talk all about Apple TV and what's going on with it. I'm Chuck Joyner. She's Charlotte Henry. Charlotte, good to see you.
Hello. Hello. Nice to see you, man.
Good to see you. Good to see you. You've been keeping busy?
Always keeping out of trouble, yeah. And as ever, there's always a lot for us to discuss. When we started the show, we were like, we'll fill it out once a month, maybe. There'll be stuff to chat about. It's a cool platform. And now every week we're like debating how to cram everything in.
It's a nice problem to have for us, but it's also a nice problem for Apple TV because they continue to hit things out of the park. They continue to make splashes and they continue to make great content.
And news.
And news too. Yeah. The first thing we had on the agenda was some unfortunate news, though, that I was only slightly familiar with this program, Tehran. But you said you had watched it, and so I'll let you talk a little bit about it.
No, I haven't dived into Tehran, but I was very aware of it. And there was obviously this tragedy that the co-creator was found dead in their hotel room just a few days ago. And she was shooting season 4 of the show. So it's pretty shocking stuff. It's Dana Idan, who was found dead. She's co-creator. She was only 52. Her and the crew were in Greece, which is where all of Tehran has been shot. And her brother, I believe, came up to her hotel room and found her dead. We don't really know much more than that. There was a bit of a conspiracy theory across Israeli media. She was Israeli. She was doing a thing about Tehran. There was a few conspiracies sort of floating around, which is I don't really like, but it sadly sounds like she might have taken her own life. We don't really know much more than that.
I guess that's the world we live in today, that everything, there's a conspiracy theory behind it of some kind.
There's a bit of that. Especially when it comes to the Middle East as well.
Yeah. I'm with you. I was aware of this show. I know a couple friends that have said you have to watch it. And it's just been on my list for a while, and I just haven't gotten to it. And I'm embarrassed to say that now that you say they're shooting season 4. So there are 3 seasons out there that I haven't touched yet.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been a huge, huge hit for Apple, as far as I can tell. It's been pretty popular. There's been big guest stars and all sorts of things, and obviously has sort of proven itself to be rather timely as well. But yeah, this is just an awful story of someone losing their life really very young.
Yeah, and especially, as I understand it, she was the head honcho on the show. I'm not sure if she actually created it, but she was running it.
She was the co-creator.
So and it's very unfair for us to make any comment beyond what we already have because we don't know what happened. But at the end of the day, we send out condolences. No matter what the circumstances, that's a tough situation.
It's a terrible situation. The show was actually originally made for Khan, which is Israel's public broadcaster, and then it was swept up by Apple. As I say, it's proven to be a huge hit, and she co-created it. It's won a bunch of awards, and yeah, it's just a terrible story, and we don't. I suspect as these things inevitably happen, you learn more and more as time goes on about what was going on. But I sort of thought we just had to start reflecting on this kind of tragedy. And, there's been this, Apple said it was, quote unquote, deeply saddened. And then the rest of its quote was, Dana's vision, dedication and leadership were instrumental in shaping Tehran into the globally acclaimed series it is today. I have to say that feels a bit corporate speak for someone that's just lost their life. But anyway, it's not much more to be added, really. Just a terrible, terrible story.
Yeah. And, I don't think we should lose the fact that they were shooting season 4. And we've talked on here a lot of times about shows that get canceled, how they get canceled, how Apple TV just they don't flog a show to keep it going. And so obviously Tehran was something that is well worth watching. And
Dana Idan had created a huge hit. It had become a huge hit.
Yeah, she was one of the driving forces. So it's a bit of it's no question it's a loss. And yeah, that is somewhat corporate speak. On the other hand, there's not much, especially when we don't know the circumstances.
Sure. Well, on to some more positive things after that sad start. The MLS, Major League Soccer, is back on Apple TV. I think I'm right in saying this is a condensed season, because what they're trying to do now is line up the MLS with the European football seasons, which go from kind of August to May. And I think America, you guys being Americans, had to try and do it differently and try and run it at a completely different schedule to us. And I think they've just conceded that they need to put it in kind of broadly in terms with the European soccer timetable. So that's what's happened. It started on the Saturday before we're recording this. And yeah, it started off with a bit of a bang. We had Heung-min Son versus Lionel Messi, which even you, Chuck, no football aficionado, knows is a very big deal.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you explaining the schedule conflict. I'm like you. I would guess that it had something to do with fitting into all the other popular U.S. sports, because it is not quite in that category.
No, well, that's a fair point as well.
Yeah, I mean, over in your neck of the woods, it is very much the dominant thing. Here, it's not quite as much, and so there's no doubt. I don't want any soccer or football fans emailing. It is gaining. There's no doubt about that, but it is still not the force that some of the others are right now.
Well, that brings me actually nicely to a couple of points I wanted to make about this. So first of all, it was obviously very exciting to have two of the two kind of biggest stars of the league face each other. So that's Heung-min Son from LAFC and Lionel Messi, who we've discussed before, from Inter Miami. First of all, the one thing I have to say is the commentators on Apple TV must stop referring to Heung-min Son as Sonny. That's what we as fans called him. It's not for you to call him that. Behave yourselves. A bit of respect, please. Generally, though, I thought the coverage was rather good. The big thing to note about the coverage is Apple is no longer adding an additional paywall to it. So if you remember, Chuck, when this started on Apple TV, or as it was then Apple TV Plus, you had to buy an Apple TV Plus subscription, Apple TV subscription, and then a subscription to the new Season Pass. I don't know what you think. That to me was asking rather a lot of money and rather a lot from people for, as you rightly pointed out, a sport that's not so huge in the US, right?
I have mixed feelings about this.
Okay.
Because it was a dedicated kind of thing. It made sense to me that the fans were going to want it, and the ones that did want it would pay for it. I'm not sure that maybe it didn't limit its exposure, and right. So now they've taken the paywall away. Will that help drive the interest? Well, it certainly can't hurt it. It certainly makes it more accessible. So, I think you can look at it as a couple different ways. Is this a short-term thing because it was not as successful as it could have been? Or is it a long-term play to get more people involved and interested and paying attention to it, especially with Messi and Son playing?
And, of course, the World Cup coming up in the United States in the summer.
Correct. I do want to ask you. Yeah. I did want to ask one thing, though. As I recall, there was part of Messi's deal coming over to our side that was contingent upon Apple, that he was going to get a piece of the action. And so does that piece of the action go away with the paywall being dropped?
I haven't thought about this. This is such a great question. And I don't know the answer. My guess, though, if I can be so bold, is that Lionel Messi is not being shortcut and he's not going shortchanged. I suspect he has enough people around him that they're sorting it out. But you're absolutely right. That was a part of the deal, that he got a part of a subscription. Although it might be he got a take of Apple TV subscriptions, or that's how they'll do it. But you're absolutely right. He did get a piece of the action. You're totally correct.
I thought I remember you. I don't follow it, but I thought I remembered you talking about that, which I thought was a very, very interesting negotiation point that he and his people had done. And to your point, maybe it was Apple TV subscriptions. Again, something we don't know, but it's interesting to see how it all might play out, or does play out.
Oh, it was a really interesting deal, and I'm really pleased you sort of raised that. On my antenna, I missed that, and you're right, that was a thing that was done, and it's really, really interesting. There was a couple of fun bits as well from the coverage, if you don't mind. Please. First of all, so I accept that this is me watching it at midnight on a Sunday night, so I'm always going to be a bit ready to go to bed at that point. But I thought there was a lot of pre-match build-up. And I was kind of like, okay, come on now. Can we just get to the action? Enough. Let's go. That might just be like, I appreciate if it's 7 p.m. on the West Coast, on the East Coast, the same on a Sunday evening, you probably don't feel the same. But even so, it was quite fun, actually. They interviewed I was watching the New York City game for a little bit on Sunday night, and they built up the goalkeeper for that team, Matt Freese, who's I believe going to be the US goalkeeper at the World Cup. They really built him up, and then within about 2 minutes he'd conceded a goal in the game. So it was quite funny, and he flapped at the first thing that came as well. Also, I'm pretty sure in the build-up, the commentator or the host referred to we're getting close to kick, when he obviously meant kickoff. Now, I'm hoping it was just a slip of the tongue. Otherwise, that's totally unacceptable. And it would probably mean all Americans have to be banned from football, I'm sorry to say.
Well, so to comment back, first of all, the build-up doesn't surprise me at all, because that's what the networks here, all of them do. It
was very like that.
The game just doesn't come on, and, there's... in football or baseball or basketball, there's always the analysis and the analysis and the analysis of the analysis. Now, educate me so I don't get banned from football/soccer. What is the proper term for the opening, whatever it is? Is the proper term kickoff? Kickoff?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, I'm prepared, unless I hear it again, I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt for this moment. I'm just flagging it as an issue for future reference. I tell you a thing that I really like that Apple does, and I think American sports broadcasters do a lot better than British broadcasters, though we're getting a bit better at it. Within the Apple TV app, there are 10-minute and full match recaps of the game. So for me, I wanted to go to sleep, but I'm quite interested in what happened. I don't need to watch all 90 minutes of it, but I enjoyed turning on a 10-minute recap. It's slightly clunkily edited just because it's taken from the live commentary, not a, distinct package. But to be honest, it was quite a nice facility that Apple have built in really simply in the TV app, although some games do have the score on them before you see the recap. But as a general rule, I think they do the recap thing within Apple TV really nicely. So I did enjoy catching up on that.
I have not paid attention to it that closely, Charlotte, I'm sorry to say, but I would think that's what we see here for the folks that are not interested in a particular sport. You inevitably see a highlight reel that you can consume in 5, 7, 10 minutes at most for just about any game you want to. It would make, in fact, frankly, it would not make much sense for them not to do something like that, because that's going to help, I think, drive the audience to say, oh, that was a spectacular play. And so I really should be paying more attention to this sport. And if not, at the very least, it drives people to Apple TV to see the highlights.
Right, exactly. It reminded me, I don't know if you're not a particular baseball. Oh, you quite like baseball, don't you? You're a bit of a baseball fan.
No.
Oh, Chuck.
Sorry. I'm sorry. No.
It's so relaxing. Yeah, anyway, on MLB.
Right. You're right. It relaxes me to sleep. Yes.
Yeah. On MLB TV, they do a similar thing where you can watch like different, cut up highlights of the game. And Apple did the same for the football, and it's done it really nicely. I'm kind of intrigued by this. I want to, before we finish off this segment, I want to come back to the key point you made at the beginning, because I really think this is what it's all about, which is accessibility and promotion of the game. Because we've talked before, if you remember, Chuck, about how Apple has sort of got out of this deal early, and I've certainly written about it on my newsletter. Things have not gone quite as well as everyone involved thought. Remember, this was a 10-year deal when they signed it. Like, that's, as well as I do, that in sports broadcasting, that's a lifetime. That's a huge amount of time. So they obviously thought they could grow this together. And I don't think it's grown as much as they want. So they've reconfigured the deal to get it in front of as many people as possible by putting it in front of the paywall. My personal instinct is that is the right thing to do. You've sort of proven that to me by saying football is not, even European football or MLS, is not as big as it. What's it? Is hockey bigger than them? I think MLS has gone up. Maybe ice hockey's not as big. But, it's nowhere near the NFL or the NBA, is it? No.
Those would be the Major League Baseball too. Those are the big three, no question about it.
Right.
Charlotte, now that you have me thinking, because I'm wondering who was the driving force to cut that 10-year deal down. Was it one side or the other? And because to your point, it probably hasn't been as successful as they had hoped. So now they're making some amendments, including cutting the time down. We've also talked again about how Apple TV and how Apple in general and Apple TV in particular don't try to drag things out. So there was a contractual obligation. Maybe it's just that they revised their projections and figured this is a good deal, and then we will renegotiate it if and when there's more success or less success, whatever. So it's very much a moving target.
I mean, the MLS are trying to bring more stars over. So obviously Messi is the biggest one. Heung-min Son has now joined. In LA, where my understanding there's also a huge Korean community in the city. Hugo Lloris is also at LAFC. He was the French national team goalkeeper. He was the goalkeeper for my side, Tottenham, as well, for a number of years. And so they're trying to bring in stars. There's still a bit of a perception that it's slightly a retirement home, the MLS, where, the top famous players don't go at the peak of their careers. And so Apple has tried to contend with that as well, and they're very happy to bring these stars over. I just think they needed to get it in front of the paywall quicker. I think they should have started this deal as they've done it now. And also think about it. Major League Baseball, Friday Night Baseball is not behind a paywall, is it?
I don't believe so. As I recall, no. When it came out, it wasn't. Whether it's gone behind a paywall, I really don't know.
I believe so. I don't even know if you have to be an Apple TV subscriber to get Friday Night Baseball. I think it's possible you just need the app.
Again, since I'm not a viewer, I can't tell you.
My point is, I think it was a strategic misstep from the league and Apple to add this extra burden in front of it. Personally,
hindsight's 20/20, Charlotte, and think about the time that this was happening.
I said it at the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yes, that's it. I feel like just about that time, subscription fatigue to streaming services was starting to become a very big thing. And it may have just been, that's one thing that Apple TV has been plagued by, it seemed like, is just circumstantial things that are beyond its control. So I wonder
I don't know. Does Prime Video charge extra for Thursday Night Football?
No.
If you're not charging extra for that.
No. But Amazon Prime's a different animal. I mean, because there are people that subscribe to it just for the football, but there are plenty of people that subscribe to it to use it for the free shipping. There are plenty of people that, subscribe to it for the Amazon original content. So I don't feel like that's quite a fair comparison.
Okay, I'm just making the point that, like, it's a streaming service with added sport. You should just use it to tempt people to subscribe to your streaming service, not charge them another thing.
Yes, I would agree with that. I mean,
especially if you're not the most popular sport in the country.
Yeah.
I just think they misjudged it.
Well, there's one other factor I wanted to bring up.
Please.
And I'm gonna show my age just a little bit, because as I grew up, soccer/football in the U.S. was there, but it wasn't a big thing. Now, at least in my part of the country, on a spring summer morning, and sometimes fall, the fields are filled with kids playing soccer in leagues.
Girls or boys?
Both.
Because it always used to be girls have always played football in the US, right? But it's never been quite as popular amongst guys as I understand it. The US women's team has always been far and away the superior one.
Right. And now so I think there may be, a generational wave coming that is going to find a lot more interest in this. And, was that a misstep that because you're targeting younger, you might have been targeting a younger audience that doesn't have the wherewithal or the say in what the family subscribes to. So I think it's going to be interesting to see here in the U.S., Apple TV or not, how much interest there is in soccer/football. I don't know how to refer to it because I don't want to offend the UK viewers. I don't want to offend the US viewers. So I'm trying. We got to figure out a third term or something. But
the game with the round ball.
There you go. Yeah, the black and white round ball. I like it. I think it's just going to be one of those things that may not happen for a while. But I think there is a new appreciation for it with younger generations.
That's really interesting. That's such an interesting point. Well, sticking with the sports theme, Apple has done a deal with EverPass Media, and that it's a distribution deal basically for the sports programming on Apple TV. Now, as I understand it, EverPass seems to be the company that provides sports content like in places like pubs and things. It's not a subscription service we would use as far as I could tell. But when I was going through this story on Sports Cow, that's how I read it. And also it showed to me that Apple is now a player in this live sports game, that this kind of deal has to be done.
And it would seem to be a logical progression. As we've talked about so often here, that Apple, along with a lot of others, Apple wants to get into the live sports. So it would only make sense that if they're going to attract a live sport, if they're going to go and do the negotiations to get the rights to it, that they are able to show other distribution channels than just the subscription to Apple TV that you and I have.
Right. Yeah. There are business options and core options. Anyway, it just reiterates to me, and remember, we've got the Formula One racing coming up in just a couple of weeks as well, I believe, which will be available in the US via Apple TV. It won't be here. it's just struck me as quite interesting how Apple is moving into this world.
It's a world you're much more familiar with, Charlotte. The sports aspect of it, definitely. But there are all these channels, and I know we've had some discussions on my show about how we start to question just how far this can go. How fragmented can the NFL make their product and not hurt the value of it? And because they seem to be scattering things all over the place. And so could they scatter something?
And the same with the NBA, right?
I don't follow the NBA, but that's certainly my perception as well. So, I think this whole thing is in play. And I think I know you and I've had these conversations, maybe off camera, if not on, but I watch what the broadcast networks here are putting on TV, and it's just like, other than sports and maybe some news content, they've just surrendered to the streaming services.
Oh, 100%.
And
totally.
It's just I can't believe they just have just given it away, and now we're putting this mindless stuff on that I guess there's an audience for it, and I don't believe that any of our viewers would be part of that audience, because I just can't imagine sitting down and spending any significant amount of time watching this stuff.
You being a snob, Chuck?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, there's still a couple dramas out there that are okay. But when I see game shows popping up on 3 or 4 nights a week in prime time, something's wrong.
I have to be honest, there's basically nothing I watch live that isn't sport. The one exception to that was a number of episodes of The Traitors, because I didn't want it ruined for me. But that's basically it. If I want to watch a TV drama series, I just watch it on the streaming service. That's just how it is now.
I don't disagree.
Someone should write a book about this, Chuck.
Well, do you have a chapter, Charlotte?
I have many chapters. Streaming Wars, available now wherever you buy books. Thank you.
This show brought to you by. No, that's great. It is such a changing environment, and you just caused me to take a look in the mirror and say, I'm the same way. I tend to watch 99.9% of what I consume through a screen as entertainment as, at the very least, time shifted, and usually off of streaming. So
what was the last time you watched something that wasn't the NFL or golf live? Right.
Well, you just took out the Super Bowl. You took out golf. So I maybe have the morning news on, the local morning news would be it. Other than that,
I was going to take out news as well, because I think those are the only thing. I mean, there's some crazy stat. I've probably shared it with you before. Like, out of the top 100 most viewed live shows, like 80 or 90 something of them are NFL matches.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that stat. Yeah.
I can't remember the exact number. I should have it in front of me. Anyway, I think, I know the point you're making is that, and this is why they're doing a distribution deal with this EverPass company, is Apple is now in that world. It's realized it has to be, right?
I think everybody has to be now. If this is their business, this has developed into their business much the way that now it's been quite a while, but companies had to adopt email. Companies had to adopt websites. It's not hard for me anyway. It's not hard to remember a time that, you struggled to justify the cost of a website to management. And now it's like, if you're a local pizza place and you don't have a website, you're basically invisible.
Yeah. Okay, now I want pizza.
With or without pepperoni?
No pepperoni.
No pepperoni. Okay.
Now I really want pizza. No, we've got we mentioned F1 before. I'm focusing now. Chuck, stop making me hungry.
Sorry.
It's much later in the day here than it is for you. We mentioned F1 and how that's coming to Apple TV in the next couple of weeks, the live races. But obviously it's all started with F1, the movie, right, which was a huge, huge, huge success in the cinemas and I guess on the streaming service as well. Well, the people behind it have got some awards.
And I was intrigued to see these awards for this particular movie because of the nature of the movie, the location shooting they had to do, but obviously just the sound and the excitement of the sound that they had to capture, as opposed to a typical.
Because it's the sound team that have picked up the accolades.
Yes, yeah, and the sound is a big part of what makes the movie,
right?
Because it really does bring that home to you in the action scenes. The drama scenes, taking nothing away from the folks who do sound for drama, but the F1 thing was a whole different animal.
Yeah. So the sound team on F1 the movie were honoured by the Association of Motion Picture Sound. They got that in the Warner Brothers office here in London. And then that was on Saturday. Then Sunday, they picked up a BAFTA as well, which was, it's kind of Apple Insider not unreasonably point out that the BAFTAs are kind of like our Oscars and Emmys combined into one. They do a film BAFTA and a TV BAFTA. And so the team for that picked up an award at the BAFTAs as well on Sunday. So it was a pretty successful weekend for those sound designers.
Good for you guys. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah. You quite enjoyed the film, didn't you?
I very much enjoyed the film. I am still kicking myself for not having seen it in an IMAX theater and hope at some point it gets back in there so I could see it that way.
Yeah, I haven't watched it at home because I missed it at the IMAX. And I kind of wanted to see it at the IMAX and never got round to it. But maybe that's a shame on me. While we're talking about awards, the studio and Mr. Scorsese picked up awards at the Directors Guild Awards as well. They were welcomed there. And it has been a theme throughout kind of the life of Apple TV Plus / Apple TV that they've picked up these quite prestigious awards all, long from the start, which I find kind of interesting.
We've talked about awards so much here, and you follow them much more than I do. Yes, I'm sure that Apple has been focused on winning awards, but I don't see from my personal standpoint, I don't see awards being given for programs that I'm not interested in, like I do in some of the other award shows. These are shows that I may not have watched all of them, but they're shows that probably a healthy percentage of them I would be interested in seeing or are on my list to see. And there's some other award shows that focus on movies and series and things that are just so esoteric or just that I don't care about. I don't know if that's the nature of the Apple TV universe being a bit smaller, at least in theory, but it just feels like there's a lot of quality going on here.
Sure. I think separate to that issue, which, as you know, I basically agree with you with, I think Apple wanted the prestige of it. I think there's a bit of a thing that like Tim Cook likes turning up to these awards in his fancy suits and like being with the stars and whatever. I think there is a little bit of that. But I think for the tech companies to pick up these awards in media, I think they quite like it. I think it gives them a credibility in the industry that they quite appreciate.
Absolutely. And especially as if it's possible to still be a startup after this many years, there's still a startup in the streaming world. So I agree with you completely. As to Tim, I'm sure he personally enjoys it. I mean, who wouldn't? If you don't mind putting on a tux. But I don't know that. I don't know that Tim could justify to the board of directors or the shareholders doing this if it wasn't part of a significant revenue stream and part of Apple's success.
Which, of course, we never know because they never tell us how many subscribers or how much money they're making from Apple TV.
Exactly. But I hope they keep doing it.
You and I were talking. Yeah, sure. Well, I was just going to say there's a show I'm really enjoying on Apple TV at the moment, which I know you've caught up with season 1. We haven't got to season 2 yet. I think we'll have to do perhaps a review show of season 2 of Hijack, because I'm messaging you every evening saying how much I'm enjoying season 1. You, I know, really enjoyed it originally. It's just a great show, isn't it?
You know, it is. And it was one of those that I watched the first episode or two just because, and I was surprised.
Sure.
Because, and we're not going to do any spoilers.
No.
But I don't think this is a spoiler. If it is, folks, just skip over this part. But it's about
send your angry emails to Chuck.
Yeah, please. But it's about the hijacking of a plane. It's like, okay, how many of these have we seen? How, so what could they do that would make it interesting? They did it. It absolutely. I'm with you. It was a terrific season, and I was happy that there was a season 2. Because I thought, well, okay, so they've done this. How can they, unless they take us back on a plane? So I'm delighted that there's a season 2 that I'm looking forward to getting into when I get the chance.
Or I would say some people have been more critical who like season 1, haven't loved season 2. I'm going to hold out my judgment for myself on that. There's one nitpicky point, and I might be wrong about this. Tell me, people, if I am wrong about this. As Chuck says, this is not a spoiler. It's about a plane that's hijacked. Fine. I don't think that is a spoiler. And it's a British plane. Again, I don't think that is a consequential spoiler. And of the point at which the British government realised this plane has been hijacked, they call in the Foreign Secretary. I am 99.9% sure the person that would be alerted first to this is the Home Secretary. Now, I'm not saying any more because the Home Secretary is responsible for national security. Now, I'm not going to say any more than this because the episode I've just watched makes me think this is a deliberate plot point. I'm just saying it has irked me slightly whilst watching this.
That was a point that probably because I'm not as familiar with your government as I should be, that I had completely missed, and so I can't comment on it.
Yeah, I think that was slightly dramatic license, but we'll see.
Okay, report back to us, please.
I'm 99.9% sure that the two might work together, but I'm pretty sure anything to do with national security, it would be the Home Secretary first. Because the Foreign Secretary is more about diplomacy. I think it'd be the Home Secretary and or the Defence Secretary. Anyway, this was me being nitpicking. Thank you for coming to my nitpicking corner. It's a very, very good show. Idris Elba is fantastic. To your point about it being different from all the countless hijack shows that we've seen, I agree with you. And I think the thing that does that is I love the dynamic between the characters. It's not the cliched goody baddie kind of split. There's some emotional depth to it that I thought was really well done. I think is really well done.
I would not have used that phrase, but I agree with you 100% that there is an emotional depth. You are in a situation where you care about the characters, and the characters are complex. Again, to your point, yes. They're not just, okay, this is this character that you knew there was going to be one. This is this character, you knew it's going to be one of those. That's an interesting point.
I think that's what the action sequences are good. It's a good action show, but there is an emotional depth to it as well that I think makes it a very, very top quality show.
One that you should definitely check out.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to check it out on Apple TV, it's becoming one of my favorite shows on the platform, I have to say.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to season 2 myself.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a bit of season 2. Well, I told you we had a lot to pack in. I don't think we've disappointed.
And we haven't even touched on some of the upcoming shows and the trailers and everything that's being announced. So come back and see us next time.
Come back and see us next time. Chuck, where can people keep up with you in the interim?
MacVoices.com. That's where you'll find everything. I think since the last time we spoke, I've finished releasing the interviews shot at CES, and there were, I believe it was 56 of them. So there's a lot there.
You finally made it out of CES.
Yeah. If you don't like one, go to the next one, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff there. And on the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner. Charlotte, how about you?
I'm at Charlotte A. Henry across social media, and head over to theedition.net for all my coverage of the crossover of culture, media and tech. And as I was saying before, my latest book, Streaming Wars, which covers all things streaming and entertainment, is available now wherever you get your books. We will see you next week.
Thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.